John Brahaney was probably the very first person I called when I had the idea to do Taxi and knew that I got the funding to start it. And he has been my guru, my moral compass, and kind of our good luck charm ever since I started this company 15 years ago. I've learned so much from this man that while he's sitting in my office, I asked him if I could videotape him and turn you guys on to a little bit of his wisdom. His website is johnbrahaney.com. He does... he is literally one of the premier song critiquers or song coaches, songwriting coaches on the planet. Yeah. All right, enough of the infomercial on John, but let me ask you a question that I asked you a million years ago, and I would love for you to answer for our viewers. And that is, it's one thing to get your emotions down on tape or in a song. It's another thing to get somebody else to feel what you want them to feel what you felt. It does no good to pour your heart out. You need them to have their hearts bleeding. Yeah. Tell me what you're thinking.
Actually, you had put that in your last newsletter.
That's right.
And I saw that, and I wrote to you. I wrote back to you, and said, thanks for the quote in the last newsletter. I'm pretty sure it was me too. And the additional bit of wisdom that followed. I think it was Maya Angelou who said something to the effect that long after we can remember what someone said or did, we'll remember how they made us feel. Which that always stuck with me too. You know, I thought that was beautiful because, yeah. And what I've noticed with songwriters is that there is a progression of attitudes and skills. And the first part of that is, I feel like I just want to say this. You know, I want to get it down. Right. And they'll write stuff. You know, that's very emotional, maybe, but at the end of the looking at the lyric or hearing the song, you say, what the hell were they talking about? You know,
they understand it, but you don't.
Yeah, I got the attitude behind it, but I didn't know what it was about. It was like coming in the middle of a conversation, and you hear somebody really angry, and you hear them being angry, but you have to go up to them and say, what happened? You know, and so at the end of the song, I want to say, so what happened? So then the next progression, the next step is that they start sending this stuff out to Taxi, to publishers, to whoever, and nobody is biting, you know. And then,
well, that's because they're all industry morons and they don't know a good song when they hear it.
Of course, they're all industry morons and they don't know a song, a good song when they hear it. But you know, that's what I thought too. But then you start. There's a point at which you have to start saying, you know, something's wrong here. Could it be me? Oh, God forbid it could be me. It is. That's a big jump to say maybe my songs. Maybe I'm just not doing this right. Maybe there's more to this than just playing my guitar and saying whatever comes off the top of my head. You know, maybe I actually have to rewrite a song.
Wow.
Maybe it's not just magic when it comes out of me. You know, maybe I had to learn something more about. Maybe I should read a book. Maybe I should go to a class. Maybe, and then the next revelation comes. Wow, you know, yeah, God, I didn't know that. What if, you know, yeah, how about a chorus that sounds totally different than the verse? You know what? It occurs to me that if I had paid attention to all those my favorite songs, they all do that. So why didn't I do that?
But I'm a creative genius, and I don't want to fall into this formulaic crap. Can't the people in the music industry or the public just see my creativity and glom onto it?
Well, yes and no. The big difference is they want to sell it. You know,
people in the industry.
The people in the industry want to sell it.
Well, I want to make money too.
Yeah.
But on my terms.
Yeah, right. Yeah, but you just have to, you know, so that revelation comes and then you realize, wow, I don't quite have it yet. You know, maybe I ought to rewrite this, you know, and you get your critiques back from Taxi and they tell you all this stuff. And do you say, oh, they don't know what they're talking about. Do you say, and we know this, you know, all I have to do really is, that screener didn't get it. Let me send it to another screener, and let me put a note on my thing that says, don't send it to this, don't let this screener listen, you know, let all these. And pretty soon I pick up my stuff to listen to, and there's a long list of screeners that they say, don't have this screener. And the only thing I can think of is that they think that the same song that is getting negative critiques, even with great positive, ideas for how they can rewrite it, God forbid they should rewrite it. You know,
right.
They just think, if I play it for just one other screener, I'll hit one that really gets it.
Right.
Wrong. If you have that many people who are saying you need to make these kind of changes or these kind of improvements to make this, even if, I hear stuff here that I say, wow, what a great idea, this is really a cool idea, but they just blew it in the chorus, and I can see what they could have done, but all I can do is say, check out this chorus again, try to come at it from a whole new place, try to consolidate this idea, try to, do a little more repetition, all the kind of stuff we could say that we know. I mean, and all of us screeners have done this in one form or another in our careers for a long time, whether it's a publisher or, and we all have had to sit there and talk to a writer and say, have you thought about doing this?
Well, I think that a lot of musicians think that anybody in the industry, and including the people at Taxi, that if we're listening to their music, that somehow we're in an ivory tower and we're evil and we're looking down on them and we want to smack them down.
We would kill to find something we could forward. And I say that about not just me. I mean, we talk.
Yeah,
I mean,
screeners do.
Screeners talk, and
in a good way.
In a good way, and we're excited. Every now and then, somebody will say, "Man, you got to hear this. You got to hear this. This is so great."
Yeah.
And even though we're still on the clock, we will do a little, or after work or whatever, and say, "Man, did you hear that song?
Well, that's a good thing.
I cried, and we want to hear those. We love it when we hear those."
There are some people that literally worry that they will be blackballed, and that the screeners talk in a negative way. The screeners all come in before a shift maybe and compare notes. Oh yeah, I didn't forward this guy yesterday, so make sure you don't forward him. Does that stuff ever happen?
Oh no, not ever.
I know.
In all the years I've been here, it has never happened.
I can understand that people want to imagine that there's this conspiracy.
There's a cabal that's really.
It makes it easier to blame somebody else rather than just rewriting the song and getting it right.
Yeah, just rewrite the song. I mean, I in my book, The Craft and Business of Songwriting. I had my friend John Eames, who wrote "She's in Love with the Boy," add a section, and I said, I understand that you did 34 rewrites on that song, but it's in the Country Music Hall of Fame, Songwriters Hall of Fame. And I said, would you mind writing me, a little piece on how you went about doing that, and what kind of rewrites you had to do, and how you went about that, and what decisions you had to make that wasn't working or that is. And he said, sure, and he was leaving the next day, the next afternoon. I called him in Nashville, and that following morning he had 1,200 words to me on that song. And it's like a textbook in itself, like all the way he went about thinking about what that song needed.
The process of rewriting. So, okay, everybody, go to your local bookstore and just read those 1,200 words.
Yeah.
And then if you like them, buy the book.
There you go.
Anyway,
that's fair enough.
Thanks for stopping in and sharing with everybody. I'll put this up on YouTube in like a week, and I'm sure that literally thousands of writers will improve because of the 10 minutes you've spent with us. Thanks, JB.
I love it. Thanks, Michael.